gravel, there was a voice came in my head, clear as a bell, that said, "You're going to have an accident." I thought,
What?
yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh. So my little ranchero starts swerving in the gravel. I go down.
You found the Live Local Marketing Podcast, where business owners share their knowledge about what's working in the market today. Thanks for joining us here with the Live Local Marketing Podcast. And today we are with Becky. Ma'am, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling a little bit better. Every day's getting better after that throat thing.
Yeah, you may have given it to me through the internet somehow, because now I've got it, but that's fine. We're going to power through this here today. No problem. We'll do a little bit of background about Becky, give you an idea of who she is, and then we'll get right into the questions. She is a business strategist and AI consultant, the author of 6 books in artificial intelligence and growth. For 35 years, she's helped small and mid-sized companies increase revenue, streamline operations, simplify their marketing, clear actionable strategies. And today, she specializes in making AI practical for real businesses, showing leaders how to save time, reduce costs, and improve results without overwhelming. We're going to get right into the question. Are you ready for the questions?
We are ready.
All right, let's do this. Talk to us about a time you had a loss and it turned out to be a win.
Well, I think that would be a story I'm going to share with you. So I'm Becky Amble, as everybody knows. They can see my name there. And I'm a farm girl. And we farm girls are typically known for being honest, open-hearted, and we want to help people. So a number of years ago, I was driving my ranchero, and I was coming down an overpass. And before I got to the gravel, there was a voice came in my head, clear as a bell, that said, "You're going to have an accident." I thought,
what?
Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh. So my little ranchero starts swerving in the gravel. I go down a ditch. I remember distinctly when my arm flew up and broke in the window frame. And then somehow I was thrown out the side window. I don't know. The next thing I knew, I woke up in a plowed field.
What? Okay.
Yeah. And there I laid in that plowed field. And I just thought, I am so tired. I had just woken up, right, from being knocked out. And I thought, I am so tired. I just want to go to sleep. And I knew if I did that, I wouldn't wake up again. So I gathered myself up and trudged up the ditch, went across the road to the farmhouse where I knew the women that lived there. And they took me in and I laid on the floor and they got a call to my mom and my sister who came out and hauled me to the emergency room. And I think it was a little bit subconscious, yet that was when I just became a woman on a mission. And I said, you never know when the last day is going to be. You don't know when your time is up. And so I went on a mission and said, I want to help people in some way. Now, probably you or somebody you know has had a car crash or some kind of accident, and they've had that feeling of, wow, the end could be anytime. Well, luckily, God led me down the path to study business, and people keep telling me I'm creative. Well, I take that creativity into business solutions, and that's what I love doing, and it's what I've done my entire career. And that's where I've gotten really, really, really good at helping people grow their business and even coming up with multiple ideas, as I bet you do, multiple ideas on how to solve one problem. Like they'll say, how do I do this? And you go, well, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's been my mission. That has been my purpose that I have dedicated my professional life to, is working with businesses and helping them grow so that they can live the life they want to live.
That's an amazing story. I think there's one part of the farm girl growing up that you probably missed, is that farm people are incredibly hardworking by default. And I'm guessing that's also inherent in you, as well as the creativity and the giving. I'm sure that's in there somewhere.
Yeah, it sort of seems like the days are never done when you're a farm kid. And I think on a subconscious level, I've had this obsession, partly because we always work as a farm kid, and feeling like I just have to do something before it's too late. And I need to help people when I can. You know how we get caught up in things.
Yes, absolutely. So coming from the mission and the focus and the hard work, how do you set goals for yourself? I always like to ask that for my entrepreneurs who are trying to get themselves organized.
Well, that's a great question. And that is the kind of work that I've been doing with clients with companies for years and years. So I do it for myself. I actually practice what I preach. And I'm right now in the regrouping phase. And so I'll be doing some additional research and talking to more people. And then what I lay out is, here's the financial goal that I want to achieve. And what do I need to do this to get there? So the past couple of years, I focused a lot on awareness. So I've been doing lots of speaking, a lot of writing, those kinds of things. And so now when I'm refocusing, I really need to go, all right, now what are the right things for me to be doing to hit that goal this year? And so, like I said, I'm kind of in that regrouping and tweaking stage.
So how often do you find yourself regrouping and tweaking? Is it like a quarterly, biannually? Like how often do you do that?
What a super question. I do it annually. And one of the things I learned when I worked at Medtronic, the pacemaker company, I think they probably had Boston Consulting or somebody come in and help put together some of this stuff. But I take my annual plan and then I break it into quarters. And so a lot of people like to do the 90-day plan, the 12-week plan, that kind of thing. Well, that's kind of automatically how I do it. And that, in fact, has been one of the things with my clients. The two things that they like the most is the information I get them when we interview customers, or putting together that quarterly planner. I've had so many of them say, can we do that quarterly thing again? Because it lays out what you do each quarter, and that just simplifies things. So you look at that and you go, oh yeah, so what do I need to do in January then? For this is the quarter, January got this, February, it just helps break it down so it's manageable.
So you do the same thing with them, right? You say, hey, how much do you want to make this year as a company? What kind of activities do you have to do? And then what kind of goals do we have to set for ourselves? Monthly, quarterly, weekly. Is that how you do it? Man, a quick break before we get to that next answer, because I know that answer is going to be brilliant, which is why I chose this moment to interrupt. If you love what you're seeing and you want to run your business off of warm marketing referrals, visit our website, livelocalwarmmarketing.com. It's got valuable resources, office hours, memberships, the book, an array of resources to help you get rid of cold calls, cold leads, door knocking, and run a business you can be proud of through referrals and warm marketing. Now, back to the show.
Yes, absolutely. And, a lot of times companies don't have very good customer information. So part of what we do is, what information do you have? What don't you have? What do you know about customers? So a lot of times we start with interviewing customers because they just don't have the information.
That's a good place. That's awesome. I'm going to shift this next question because I don't want to know cold and warm market, to be honest with you. You're an AI person. Let's shift the gear. I'm going to on the fly here. Let's talk to us about some of the AI strategies that you're using to help these businesses meet their goals and save themselves some time.
All right. Well, the first thing that we do is we do an assessment. So we go into the company, we talk to the leader, or if there's a team of leaders, we talk to them about what are you doing? What technology do you have? Where do you feel like there's bottlenecks? Where do you feel like you're wasting time or spending time on things that aren't of high value? So first thing we do is try to figure out what's going on and where's there an opportunity. And so then everything we do really is customized because everybody's in a different place. A lot of the time, though, it ends up being things to save them time. For example, in one client of ours in Hawaii, as simple as this sounds, they were having the owner of the company, as well as one of his key people, kept getting calls from people on HR questions. Well, we don't say, hey, we're AI or HR experts. However, we can take all of their information, their handbook, their everything, and we can get that put into a document that then anybody can access. And instead of having to, pull out the file folder and the big manual, instead of doing that, the person can say, just type in their question. What's the vacation policy? Bam, there's your information. So simple things like that sometimes, even working with people to automate their conversations, their interviews, and then put that into a template so that it outlines action items and helps them figure out, what do I need to tell the team and move forward. So it depends a lot. And again, if we can just free up that person's time, or the team, if we can free up their time on those routine things so they can deal with the most important issues, then they're just off and running. And that helps them grow their business because now they can focus on the big deals.
Do you ever feed the goals and the goal setting stuff? You seem really strong with that and you seem very organized. Do you ever feed that into the AI? Can I give you ideas and things to help with the goal setting?
Yeah, we can do that. In fact, I have built a prompt. I'm not sure if I'm satisfied with it yet, where I can input a lot of information. And we go through, because I primarily work on strategy. So I start at what I call kind of the foundation of marketing. So I'll ask questions about who's your target market, what are your segmentation variables, and sometimes they don't even know what I'm talking about. What makes you different? What makes you unique? Who's your ideal customer profile? You know, a lot of people get that instead of target market. Same basic thing, just depends on the language.
Yeah.
So I will ask, I will build something, and then I might go to AI and say, here's what we know. Tell me what you think, or give me some ideas, or here's our strategies. What are we missing? The other thing that I like AI for is maybe parts of a plan where I might say, hey, here's one of the things that we're going to do. We're going to have a customer advisory board, and we're going to have that monthly and blah, blah. You know, I might give some parameters. Then I might go to it and say, what would be an out of the box idea on how to use this
I
tool?
like that.
So sometimes just ask for out of the box, unusual, whatever, then use your own mind and decide,
yes,
hey, that was totally crazy. Or, whoa, that makes me think of, a new idea.
That is awesome. Okay, so you've been at this for a minute or two, 35 plus years. You've been at it. Talk to us about a strategy that you used to use, but you don't anymore. The ROI is not there. Don't do this.
Gee, I'm not sure if I even have one, because again, it really comes down to what is that objective. And recently I wrote a book on the 4 revenue strategies. And I did that because there's a lot of people out there saying things, yet they don't have all the pieces. They don't have like the foundation. And I thought, people need to have some of the foundations before they jump off on this idea and go running. So I think for me, part of it probably, I don't know if there's a strategy that doesn't work, because again, it depends on the company, the industry, and all of that. So I don't have boilerplate stuff that applies to everybody. And so I'm not sure if there's even one that I would say I've dumped. There's some things on the tactical side. Maybe some of it is languaging. Like we used to have something we called the top 10 hit list. Well, now if you put that out, people are like, whoa, what kind of a psycho are you? Well, we just want to target your top 10 customers.
Yeah.
So, some of it is even just little subtleties about how you language things.
All right, so let's talk about one that people might be surprised still works. How's that? Let's do that for a question.
One that still works? Well, I think the proverbial hands down, one of the most important things is to have good customer information. And a lot of people think they do. And then when you start digging in and you say, well, what are your customers like? They think, I don't know. What don't they like? I don't know. And I don't know if I really want to know. Who else are they talking to? If they were to describe your business, what do they say? What do they think makes you unique? And why do they keep doing business with you? So for me, I think one of the foundation things still is make sure you have good information and you understand the customer, their pains, all of that kind of stuff, which is fundamental. And yet it's so easy to feel like, I know that. We got this. And yet, do we? Because you really need to have good info.
I mean, when it comes down to it, all this AI and all this technology, really the foundations are still the foundations, like you just said. Like it comes to the very basics when it comes down to it. Let's talk more about branding. You have lots of experience with branding. How do you pull out the branding from your clients? What specific strategies are you using to really get to know them and their branding?
Well, that's another good question. And branding has become a bit of a buzzword. And so it means different people or different things to different people, depending on who you're talking to. And so I would say I go back again to some of the fundamentals and making sure we understand the customer, their pain points. How are you unique and different? How do you solve their problems? What is the value that you bring to your, not just company A, but most of your clients are going to be somewhat similar. What value do you bring to them, and how does that set you apart so that you have something to talk about and something that's unique?
So do you like interview them? All right. So do you have, I'm going to get even more granular if that's okay. So do you have like specific questions you use? If so, what are some of your favorite questions? Or do you do like a personality test, or like, how do you draw it out of them? What kind of things can my audience like know more about their own brand through your experience?
Well, since my crystal ball has been a little foggy lately, I talk to humans. Actually, I have a book over here.
That's good. See, there you go. That's what I love right there. She's got a book full of questions. That's great.
And it's a ring binder, so there's a ton of
Nice.
stuff in it. And I have rewritten it 4 times. I haven't updated it now for maybe the last 5 years because that's a bit of a chore. And so I walk people through. I believe in process and I believe in following steps. And so we go through. And one thing, I'll just mention this to you. I have played with this idea of the 5-minute marketing plan. Because what I do with my clients, let me see if I have this handy. What I do with my clients, a lot of them, if we do a group thing where I've got a bunch of small businesses and we meet in a group online, what I do is I will give them assignment, even like their purpose and their vision and their values and things like that. And then what I do is I tell them, get yourself index cards. And then we will be, let's just say we're working on differentiation, for example. I will say, write down all the things that makes what you do different, unique, add value. You got 5 minutes, put it on the index card, because most people, I think, have the information, and where they get stuck is they don't know how to organize it. They don't know what goes with what, and how do I communicate this, and how do I get my thoughts organized. And so I have found, just write everything down on an index card. You got 5 minutes, go for it. And most of the time they have the information they need.
Do you ever tell them that if it's bigger than that index card, they're also off brand?
Well, I haven't gotten to that. That's an interesting thought. And what I usually do is I tell them, get the 4x6 business cards.
I get the bigger ones.
I actually have my bigger ones too.
Nice.
But I tell them too, then every morning, because we would meet weekly, every morning, just have that card sitting there and just take a quick look at it and see, is there anything to add? Is there anything new? Okay, if you're good, set it aside, get on with your day.
That's awesome. I love the index card. I love the throwback stuff because it just works. All right. So talk to us about you've been at this for a minute. So we know I want to pull more from your experience. Talk to us about the best marketing advice you've ever been given.
Oh, the best marketing advice I've ever been given. That is a good question. I think a lot of it, as I'm looking up, trying to recall something here, was things that I learned at Medtronic. That was my first big corporate job. And the beauty of a corporate job is usually they've paid big buck consultants and they hire people from the top business schools and all that. So usually they have process and systems and they have some knowledge base that can be really helpful. I mean, I've got an undergrad degree and I went to grad school and all that kind of stuff. And yet putting it into operation is where a lot of times coming out of business school, unless you're an accountant that has specific things that you learned that you have to do in your job, sometimes the business concepts are a little bit more vague, a little bit broader based. So I would say probably one of the best things was the marketing plan structure that we used at Medtronic. And we used a format that I don't necessarily use now, but it was problem opportunity. So we'd say the problem is we're not making enough money in this market segment. The opportunity is grow the business by doing blah, 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 blah. And so just looking at it as, for some of us, it's easier to say, okay, what's the problem out there? Okay, how do I turn that into an opportunity? And that, I think, has been a good process. Now, I use things a little bit differently where I'm going to say, what's the objective? How are we going to get there? It gets you to the same place. And we were also really big because, of course, we were Medtronic, and also really big on making sure that we were doing research on the marketplace. And we had a customer advisory board that was made up of docs. We had scientific advisory board. So we were big on making sure we had that info going back and forth.
So if you had all the info, like how do you organize the info? Like just having the info is great, but how are you organizing it? What are you doing with it?
That's another great question. So again, being clear, in fact, I've got a client now I've got to work with on some of the things that we're going to research for him, is be really clear and think about what are the key questions that we can't answer. And usually you sit down and you go, well, I don't really know how customers feel about this. I don't really know how they feel about our competition. I don't really know how their decision process works all the time or who is involved in that. So really just thinking through what are some things that I wish I knew better or wish I had more info, and then see if that's a practical thing and if it comes to the top of your list.
Oh, I like that. That's a really good answer. All right. So before we get to your business, we have one final question and we're talking about confidence. How has the systems and things you've created, helped you build confidence?
Super question. And there are people that say you can fail your way to success. And I kind of think, well, I don't kind of see that. I look at, if there's a failure, I would rather look at it as, hey, there was something that didn't quite work the way I planned it. What can I do to make it work next time? Or what can I do better?
Yes.
And so I like to look at things as a learning experience. So give me your question again.
How have your systems that you've created that you follow helped you? Yeah, because I see how organized you are, and I'm like, that has to be part of why you're so confident and so successful.
Yeah. So sorry, I lost part of that question. And
No,
what
good.
happens is, leading up to that, is that I want to really know what's going on with the customers. Lay out our clear objectives. Just be super clear. If we say, hey, I'm going to grow my business to 20 million this year, 250 million, whatever how many zeros we have in our business, be really, really clear on that, and then figure out how you're going to do it. And like when I started a finance company for people out of California, they were the investors. We didn't have anything like that here in Minnesota, in the upper Midwest. And so I went out, found out how they did business, figured out how I was going to get business. And then I came out and I laid out my plan, and my plan was to call on bankers, because we were financing small businesses in a way that bankers didn't do and nobody else did. So who are we trained to go to if we need money? The bank. So I met with 350 bankers my first year, commercial lenders, the first year, and I kept going, and I kept track over a 3-year period. There was only one banker that didn't want to meet with me. And the first year of my business, 95% of my business was referral. And so for me,
that's awesome.
being able to lay out a plan, and a lot of this was hammered in at Medtronic, really, because they really probably set the standard. And so that's where I really learned this does work. And then being able to say, okay, we've done this in X number of companies. When we're clear and we understand the customers, you're successful. So then you feel like, okay, I got a game plan. I know what I need to do. I know I need to get the information, lay out the plan, and then work the plan. And obviously, if something isn't working, then you have to adjust.
Oh, that is such an exact answer. So people that are, and I see that when people, they're imposter syndrome, like if they had a plan, like you said, and they had a goal and they knew the actions they had to take, there wouldn't be time for imposter syndrome, because they'd be so busy following the plan, doing the things that you don't have time to, like, am I the right person to be doing this? Just follow, just be as organized as Becky. That's my theme for today. Be as organized as Becky, and you don't have to worry about imposter syndrome, because you'll be too busy taking action to even worry about it.
Right.
All right. So
follow the plan.
Before we're out of here, let's talk about your business and where people can get a hold of you to tap into this experience.
Okay, well, they can definitely find me on LinkedIn. I believe I am the only Becky Amble, and they can see my name here on the screen. If they want, I don't do that much with my website, because it seems like everybody's on LinkedIn. I write books and I write articles and all that kind of stuff. The website is futurefocususa.com. And otherwise, they can drop me an email, Becky. It's a bunch of words, Becky, futurefocususa@gmail.com. So everything lumped together. It's just my name, the company, then with AI at Gmail. And if they want to, they can look me up on Amazon. I've got all those books out on AI. I just released 2 days ago my networking book that I actually researched 30 years ago and then updated, and that's called The Reluctant Networker.
Oh, cool. That's good. Good. All right, so we'll have all those in the show notes. Be sure you read the books. Make sure you reach out to her, because there's so much organization, there's so much strategy, and there's so much experience. You'd be missing out if you didn't at least reach out and follow Becky and see what kind of knowledge she can help you with your business. So we appreciate your time and your help today.
Thanks, Billy. It's been great to be with you, and I look forward to talking with you more, as well as some of the people that are listening. Yeah.
And if authentic, practical marketing resonates with you, be sure to visit livelocalwarmmarketing.com and learn to grow your business on warm marketing referrals.